everyone. We will get started. We're a couple minutes past 4, so I want to be respectful of everyone's time and make sure that everyone has the opportunity to hear the amazing speakers that are on our panel today. My name is Lisa Schlosser, and I'm the Executive Director of Technovation Minnesota, and I'm honored to be the moderator for this exceptional panel. Thank you for joining us today. For those that are here, there's not a huge audience right now, but for those that are here, if you could just say hi and chat, and if you have some sort of connection to Technovation, or you know about us, or there's something you would like to learn about us, we'd love to see some activity in chat, so feel free to do that. The girls in our program are preparing to be your future employees. So Twin Cities Startup Week is all about entrepreneurship in Minnesota and people with fabulous ideas, and obviously people who are starting businesses and want to have teams that are helping them with their great ideas. And so many of the girls in our program may already be able to take some of these tasks on for you. These girls are also learning entrepreneur skills with the goal that they will someday be joining Twin Cities Startup Week as a founder of a new business. They are that good. Our goal for the next few minutes is to build awareness around the technology and entrepreneur skills for which we're empowering girls in Minnesota, and invite you to be inspired with us through volunteer opportunities and hear from you on what skills your companies most need. Technovation Minnesota inspires and empowers girls to build technology to make an impact on their communities. We provide free curriculum, mentor guidance, educational resources, and encouragement for girls 10 to 18 years old. Our Technovation Girls and Amazon Alexa Skills Challenges benefit beginner to advanced computer science students, and with the development of business cases and pitches have attracted girls of all levels of STEM interest. Nearly every career choice of the future involves technology to some extent. We're here to bring technology and entrepreneur programs to girls to spark interest, build technical and entrepreneur knowledge, and most important, develop confidence. I'm looking forward to hearing from our panelists. I know you are too, so let's get started. Our panelists today include Kirsty Monevendon, Ruth Messman, Heidi Seymour, Katie Enderle, and Abigail Irving. Technology is more important than ever, and we see that with the pandemic. Our deliveries of food, social connections, working from home, distance learning, we became incredibly dependent on technology. One of my favorite digital conveniences is telling Alexa my grocery list. I think it's funny when I go to the grocery store, there's very few people that actually have a paper grocery list anymore. So that's one of my favorite digital experiences. So I'd like to go around the panel and have each person introduce themselves and then tell us what their favorite digital experience. So tell us your name again, a little about maybe something about your business, a little bit about your engagement with Technovation, and then your favorite digital experience. Let's start with Kirsty.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kirsty Monevendon, and I'm a senior at Century High School in Rochester, Minnesota. And I've been part of Technovation ever since I was in 8th grade. My energy and environment teacher in 8th grade actually presented the opportunity of Technovation to our entire class. And that's where I really started to gain my exposure in technology and entrepreneurship. The first app that I was able to create with my team, and actually my very own friends, because we got to build a group of girls on our own, was a bus tracking app for bus drivers to make sure that their kids were on their bus safely, and that the school was aware that the child was on that bus as well, the bus that they're supposed to be on. And then my sophomore year, I created an app called Sapling, which focused on trying to build a better community within our school to include English learners and fluently speaking English students, and just create a more connected high school community. So Technovation was one of the first places where I got to learn how to think outside of the box and learn how to ideate and merge entrepreneurial techniques with technology. And developing that background in middle school and learning how to create pitch videos, coding a specific project that our entire group was very invested in and enjoyed working on, and creating a business plan really has shaped the person who I am today. And now I have my own organization called the Wallet Project, which focuses on providing a platform for middle school girls to spark their interest in entrepreneurship and technology. And my favorite digital experience, I would say, would be using the dictation feature on my phone to take notes in school, or just kind of write down my thoughts, because I'm not very good at putting my words together straight up on paper.
Awesome. Thank you, Kirti. Ruth, how about you next?
Hello, my name is Ruth Messman, and I'm an alumni from the Technovation MN. I started the first ever branch in my high school when I was in the senior year. My favorite digital experience would have to be my Google Calendar. Can't live it without it. I love how it's synced with my computer. And
Abigail.
Hi, I'm Abigail Irving. My first experience with Technovation was actually as a student for 2 years in high school, and it had such an impact on me that after I graduated, I started working for a nonprofit called Create Minneapolis, which Create Minneapolis is originally who introduced me to Technovation. And they're a nonprofit that works in the city of Minneapolis to remove barriers and provide accessible STEM programs for all the students in Minneapolis. And part of my job now is to be a Technovation mentor. So I can speak to the value that and one of my favorite uses of technology is how it makes art accessible. And I recently learned about an initiative called Scan the World, where using a technological process, people are able to take sculptures of art from museums around the world and create 3D models of them virtually. And so people in Minnesota can see art from all around the world. I think that's just so amazing. And I can also see how important technology is to us, how much we rely on it, because about 20 minutes ago, the power went out in my house. So my background's very noisy, so I apologize for that. But I think it does speak to how
I love the idea of 3D art. I've always wanted to, at MIA, like look inside the pots and see like what does the inside look like, and kind of be able to hold it and turn it, as opposed to sort of walking around it from a distance. I love that. Kate.
Trying. All right, sorry about that. Trying to unmute. I'm Kate. I am a education technology consultant with Sourcewell Technology, and I've been a mentor with Technovation for 7 years, I think, basically since it started in Minnesota. I had met Rebecca Schatz at a mini bar event, and at the time I was teaching high school, so I was really excited about a group of girls that I had that I was teaching as an English teacher, but that were really civic minded and really wanted to find ways to engage in community betterment. So hearing about that at the perfect time, plus I was already pretty involved in technology in the school as well. So I've mentored with that school for a bunch of years. And this past year, I had the opportunity to do remote mentoring with 3 kids from Minnesota and 1 from Canada, which was super fun I didn't have to be the teacher this past 2 years that had to deal with transitioning to online. I get to work from home with my office job. But it was really, within those doses, it was really great to work with those kids and see just how impressive they could be when it came to getting a project together. So, and probably during the pandemic, my favorite digital experience was, I did a lot of Zoom hangouts and stuff or whatever, but I had a friend who hosted a cooking competition, like a Great British Bake Off style thing via Zoom. So me and some other friends from around the country all cooked and showed each other stuff. Obviously, you lose a big factor of cooking when it comes to doing things digitally, but then I got all the food for myself.
Awesome. And what did you make?
There was a couple of them. So I did like some soap-based 3 ways one time, did a strawberry rhubarb tart, and I can't remember what the third one was.
That's fun. We actually, my son got married, and my daughter-in-law, her bridal shower was a cooking demonstration, and then we had our own ingredients, and yeah, you had to be kind of creative when you couldn't be together in the same room. So
It's all about visual appeal at that point.
Yeah. Awesome. So Heidi, yay, you got in.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Everything's
I have
fine.
no idea. That's great. I went between 3 different devices. I just sent you all my notes. I'm like, I don't know what just happened. So yeah,
Wow, we're
everything
happy to
locked
have
up.
you.
So hi. Sorry, I
that's
apologize.
all about technology, right?
Yeah.
You got to troubleshoot
Yeah.
and kind of figure things out. And, you know,
Yeah, it was
whenever you
great.
give a demo, inevitably something doesn't work. So we
Yeah,
got
and
that
I had
glitch
like
over.
this whole corner office over here, so you wouldn't have to deal with my big picture window. So yeah, whatever. It
Well,
happens. Life
we're-
happens.
We're just introducing each other, and you're up.
Okay.
So if you could tell us your name and business and
Yeah.
how you are associated with Technovation, and then maybe your favorite digital experience.
Absolutely. So my name is Heidi Seymour. I work for Cargill, and I've worked for Cargill for over 21 years now, various different roles. Currently, I'm an IT cutover lead, and I work from my home office here in Houstontown, Pennsylvania. I had the opportunity just this year to mentor for Technovation 4 different 14-year-old gals, and it was amazing. They created an app called Chapter, and it was really neat to just walk through the process. And currently, my favorite digital experience, as of actually today, was the second time using it as our local grocery store is called Giant. So just Giant Direct grocery shopping. It saved me a lot of time and money.
Awesome. And so Heidi, you must be a good mentor because your team was one of the teams that won fabulous prizes, right?
Yeah, yes.
Awesome.
They were rock stars from the get-go. Yes.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Well, I wanted to thank you, everyone. I wanted to go back to Kirsty and Ruth and just ask you a few questions about your experience and maybe dig a little deeper from the intro that you gave. When you think back to your first interaction with Technovation Minnesota, why did you decide to join? What was it about the program that you liked?
I could go first. I really wanted to create a safe space for girls in STEM at my high school, and we didn't really have that like safe place to go to. So when I heard about Technovation MN from, I think it was Joan or Jean, I just had to get on board because I love the idea of like bringing a group of girls together and start a project. And yeah, so it goes.
Awesome. Kirsty, how about you? First interaction.
So I joined Technovation because my energy and environment teacher was telling me, and also a couple of my other friends, that we could form a team and maybe even like make an app and business around anything we'd want. And the curriculum was super flexible, and we could really make our organization or whatever project we would work on whatever we wanted to. And I thought that flexibility and having also the business mindset behind the coding was really unique, and I wanted to see what that was more about. So then I got a group of girls together, and then my teacher worked with someone from the main organization. I'm not entirely sure who, but then 2 other teams also joined, and we had a junior division made in Rochester.
Awesome. You both mentioned teams. How important is it to work with other girls as you're sort of developing these skills? How important were your teams?
My team consisted of different girls from different grades. It was a very mixed bag. So at first it was very like everyone was very awkward and shy getting to know each other, but after a couple ice-breaking games, everyone loved everything, and we started making these like secret like jokes and stuff. It was great. I think teams are very important, especially for Technovation Men and future projects that you decide to do. It's very important to be able to get along with different kinds of people, and I feel like this Technovation event really helps like me and the group of girls I was with explore what it meant to like get to know someone for like a project or something bigger than yourself.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Kirsty, with teams? How important are teams?
Yeah, I agree with Ruth. I would say they're really important, and especially developing the ability to work with other skill sets and different people and what their strongest at and trying to adapt in that environment is really important to learn early on, because I went into Technovation thinking that I could be with my friends and we would get along just fine. But we realized that we all really liked web design, and then the actual back end of the coding couldn't get done. So then we had to like move people around and see how our group could become better and have different skill sets in each group.
It's, you know, I definitely think having people around you that you can recognize and see yourself in is important. I know when I had worked at Thomson Reuters, we had done a Java coding class for students or children of employees, and the first class was, you know, mixed, and whoever signed up, and there were a couple of girls that signed up, and they ended up leaving. They ended up quitting before the end. And the second class we offered, it was girls only, and they could bring a friend. And so what ended up happening is, you know, the camaraderie and, you know, being comfortable and being able to share and being able to ask questions and learn together was just a really important piece of it. So I'm glad to hear that your work with teams in Technovation was important and helpful. And we all know that when we go to our next job or our career, we're definitely going to be working in teams. Computer science is not a solo effort, for sure. You're always working in teams. So Kirsty, you gave us an example of an app that you had created. Ruth, give us an example of an app that you have created with the program.
So my group created an app called Chivis, where local organizations could ask for volunteers and donations for their cause. And I think what I really loved about our app was the fact that volunteers could choose the organization that they want to help. So that we had a filter option where volunteers can find the organization that suits them, and organizations can easily reach out to large groups of volunteers at once instead of having to rely on word of mouth, as a lot of organizations tend to do.
Awesome. So Technovation provides mentors for the app challenge. How did you interface with those mentors? What did you learn? And have you had other mentors in your tech journey?
So my mentor really helped polish up the project and took the time to explain the fine details that we as students would have never thought about. When we were making our business plan, she got us into the marketing headspace by asking us to just simply create a survey so we can better understand our market. And this was really key to how we made our project the best it could be. After Technovation Men, me and her still kept in touch, and I even acquired more mentors after her. It's literally so inspiring to listen to how mentors explain and find their way throughout the industry. And I love how the main thing I take away with each encounter changes with each mentor. So I get to learn more as I grow and find my own way into the industry.
Excellent. And so you're currently going to school at the University of Minnesota. Do you have mentors? Are you finding mentors and people that can help you while you're at school?
Yeah, I've been networking a lot recently. My freshman year, I was very active in networking. I was able to acquire a mentor from Target, and I've gotten some other female mentors from all over the place, really. Even some upperclassmen that mentor me too. Like, it's so cool to listen to how they basically go through the challenges of being a woman in tech and how they've reached like where they are in their status. And it's crazy to see like how the networking world gets smaller each time you meet a new person, because I actually found out about another organization called RTC, and I met like a bunch of women from there that really helped and encouraged me to continue my career, which is pretty crazy.
It is amazing. I love the whole networking thing. And, I spent most of my career in corporate, and just recently within the last 2 years went to nonprofit, and there's this whole other world. Even the Twin Cities Startup Week, I've never been part of startups, but there's this whole other world and of communities in Minnesota that are just so fun to get to know, and just incredibly smart people and fun to be around. Kirsty, how about you and your team? How did you interface with your mentor, and do you have mentors that you work with today beyond your Technovation team?
So in 8th grade, I had really good mentors, actually. it was nice having people to talk through our ideas, because a lot of our ideas may have been good but not really implementable, or may not have pertained to the greater majority of people who may even like not be facing that kind of a problem. So really having someone to bounce ideas back off of and seeing if our idea would even be viable or feasible was having that mentor's opinion was really key to making our project successful. And also going into my sophomore year and building Sapling, it was ideal to see our mentors not really doing stuff for us. They guided us more in the way that we needed to code and the way we needed to shape our business plan, but they didn't tell us how to do it. So kind of going through that struggle and figuring out how to do everything by ourselves as a team really helped build those foundational skills in problem solving.
Mm-hmm. And of course, to our mentors now with Kate, Abigail, and Heidi, did you learn things from your team? You know, was it you sort of providing direction, or were you actually learning things from them as well?
Do you want to pick one of us, or is this just round robin?
Round robin, or whoever wants to answer.
I can go. Okay. I can go first, because it's like, especially over the course of 7 years, like one, I learned how to use this curriculum and like figure out like how to kind of guide students through the project. But I think on a broad scale, one of the biggest things I learn or remember is just to think outside of the box. And Kirsty mentioned that sometimes like mentors can help kind of keep things in the realm of possibility. But I think one thing that, especially working with the younger kids, I've had a ton of 10 to 12-year-olds over time. They have like such big hopes and dreams for the things that they can change in the world. And just like starting from that point is very different from the point I start at sometimes, like what's practical, what can we get done in 6 months or whatever. But like having so much enthusiasm was a big part of like why it's great to start every season and start ideating.
How about you, Abigail? What did you learn from, or Heidi's off mute. How about you, Heidi?
She can go. Oh, okay. I learned a lot's definitely changed since I was 14 years old. Wow, it's a whole different world. I don't even know if I had a computer yet. These girls, they were just so organized and aligned with their ideas and what they wanted to create, like out of the gate, and how much they wanted to help their community. They were so far ahead of us by the time, you know, we all got, as we adults, like we had to get organized, we had to get strategic, and then it was like they were already running. It really didn't matter what we asked. They had it completed far beyond our expectations. Sometimes in Cargill, I think we have meetings and lots of meetings and lots of meetings. And these gals they had it done. It didn't matter what we asked, what we suggested. They were rock stars from the beginning. I also learned that we as Cargill would be honored to have these gals as employees for us in the future. Like, I'm like, keep my information. I want to advocate. They were exceptional. And I also learned how to create my first Zoom meeting, because we don't use Zoom with Cargill and I don't use it personally. So that was fun.
They constantly teach me things about Google. Yeah. Corporate is sort of usually the Microsoft kind of version of things. And the whole Google thing is sometimes beyond me.
I had to learn Google Meets because of virtual schooling I have a little 10-year-old boy, and then like work is Teams. So then Zoom, you know, it's very similar. And then even learning Hopin. It's always something new. Yeah.
Yep. Abigail, how about you? What did you learn from your teams you've mentored?
Yeah, I would say very similar to what Kate was saying. I learned that students just have such an intense capacity for creativity that adults are often limited in. And often students are able to see problems in their community that older people would really overlook. They have a literal insider perspective to what their students or peers face regularly. And so they're able to see more problems, and they have more creativity in ways to solve them.
Awesome. So Heidi, this is your first year, but Kate and Abigail, you've done it for a few years now. What kind of keeps you coming back?
I mean, it's great one thing that's great is teams that come back, seeing them get better. Cause I feel like every year I'm like, I figure out something new. Like I up until this year where I was basically running my own team, we kind of had a collective thing going before. I let my mentors who were in the IT world, they were devs. I let them do most of the coding stuff. So like, I would just be like, I don't know, go to, but it was difficult to be fractioned like that. So, this year especially, I saw a ton of like growth in myself and my confidence in being able to lead kids through this whole project and stuff. But I had a bunch of teams that, this would have been their 4th year. They took a year off because of the pandemic, but they were like so close to getting to that next level, would just come back and like just have so many ideas at the beginning of the year. And for me too, especially, I taught high school for 10 years and now I'm not in the classroom. So I coach ultimate frisbee and I get to do Technovation. So I get to maintain those relationships with students, which I would have been very sad to leave cold turkey.
Well, we're very glad you stay, for sure. Abigail, what keeps you coming back?
Yeah, so the first couple years, we had a hard time getting traction with the girls and to get girls returning. And then 3 years ago, we had a team of, at the time they were 6th graders, and they just love Technovation so much. And every year, like that's all they talk about. They just cannot wait for Technovation to start. And so it's really been their excitement and seeing how much they've grown as individuals and professionally as technology skills, so seeing their excitement and their ability to grow has brought me back year after year.
What, as a mentor, what skills, with your experience in working with the teams, what skills are most important to bring to the table? Does everybody have to be a programmer in order to be a mentor? What other things do you bring to the table?
I've participated in a bunch of like at K-12 coding events trying to get this started in schools and stuff. And what I always try to recruit mentors saying is, if you can be a project manager, like that's what they need more than anything else. And it sounds like Heidi, you had a great team. Sometimes when I've got teams of, like 5-10-year-olds, like at that point, it's essentially, like we have to work in the coding pieces and stuff. And fortunately, I've got the mentors who've coded with me in the past. I've always been, even if they're not working as mentors that year. Mm-hmm. I called up Alex from, he's on the board from Amazon, and was like, hey, can you walk me through this so I can walk the kids through it tomorrow for the coding piece? And honestly, that was enough. And it was the most advanced coding my kids have done so far. But it really is being a champion and like helping project manage, like helping set the guidelines of what's going on. At least that's what it's kind of felt like in my experience.
Heidi or Abigail, any particular skill sets that you think is important to bring to the table as a mentor?
No, I agree wholeheartedly with Kate. I had a team of 3 from Cargill that was with me. The one gentleman was on our mobility team, so he was spot on for what we needed with the coding. And then myself and Cutover and another lady in project management. So our 3 skill sets, or if one of us could make the meeting. But I think really open-minded, like to just, it was a little intimidating at first because we didn't know what to expect, but we realized that it's just kind of like helping our own kids and grandkids with some of us to just be there and listen and help guide. And it was phenomenal. It was beyond anything I could have ever expected.
Great. One of the things, being a little bit new to the program, I know the first time I saw the curriculum, I was kind of like, oh, wow. But you can kind of think of it like we do at work, right? It's like, here's all the details and it's sort of everything you need to know. But when you're at work and or school or you're doing things, it's not like you absolutely positively check every box. You sort of go, how much time do I have? What can I do? I'm going to skip this step. So it's sort of you can kind of think of the curriculum as sort of like, here's all the, IKEA instruction booklet that you could possibly want. But as you understand it and get better at it, there are ways to sort of create shortcuts and make it your own and do some things to it. So good.
Yeah, that's very true.
So I'm curious from Kate, Abigail, and Heidi. So you've had teams. I'm curious, like, from the beginning of the first session that you've brought the team together for mentoring, compared to the last session? What skills do you see the girls develop across that 12-week time period? What in particular sticks in your mind?
I'll go first with this one because one really jumps out and it's very near and dear to me. The number one skill I saw develop in the gals we mentored were their public speaking. Even though it was virtual, the public speaking and the presentation skills came very, very far from day one. Right up until Appapalooza, when we conducted just some mock virtual judging, over Zoom. One of the gals reminded me of myself when I was a young girl. She was so nervous, and we have talked to these girls every single week, but we didn't have them turn their videos on until the end. And to just look at us on video, I mean, she went into just this little giggling. And it took me back to when I was 8 years old. And I'm like, you know what? And I shared the story. And oddly, I was just telling my mom about it today. And we can just remember it's public speaking, it's something that you have to learn to do. And I just shared it with her so she would understand it's very normal and it happens and we don't need to be embarrassed. And we kept practicing and we kept practicing. And she grew in such amazingness. With her public speaking by the end, she did phenomenal. To me, public speaking is something I learned at such a young age, but it's such a strong skill set that I have taken throughout my entire career and even personally. First impressions are very important. And how we present ourselves and communicate can be one of our best attributes. So that's what I really took away from step one, day one to the end. They did phenomenal.
How about you, Kate?
I think I would I definitely see that in my kids. One thing Kirti said earlier, kind of, I think what tapped into what I saw as the difference is everyone wanted to do kind of the same thing at the beginning, and their abilities to to basically do things on their own, self-assign, identify things they want to do versus just having me tell them what their homework is or what job they should do. At the beginning, they brought a lot of okay, what do we do this week? Or what do we do next? And really by the end, it's they know their skill sets, they know who's working on what, and they were self-delegating, they were assigning project deadlines to themselves. So back to that project management thing, especially this season, none of my girls knew each other at the beginning. They were all from random spots or whatever. So, and developing camaraderie as a team was tough. So I think that was a piece that took some time too. But as soon as they kind of knew each other and their skill sets and, who got done with things quickly and who needed some more poking to get stuff done, I almost kind of stepped back and just let them run it themselves. So that was very impressive for, I think my girls were 13 and 14 to be able to manage themselves like that.
Yeah. Abigail, any particular skill set that you've seen develop from day 1 to end of week 12?
Yeah, I think, of course, the girls learned more about coding and entrepreneurship, but I think the biggest skill they learned was how to problem solve and how to learn. Because by the end of it, they didn't know everything there was to know about coding, but they knew how to face a coding problem and where to find the resources to find the solution to it, and how to take a big problem and break it down into the steps to find the solution. And I think that was the most valuable thing they learned, because that can be applied to coding, that can be applied to any other career or any personal life situation. Problem solving is a very big skill that I saw them grow in. Excellent.
So Ruth and Kirti, when you guys formed your teams, how did you decide who was going to do what?
So because my team was very mixed. We had some seniors, we had some sophomores, we had we even have a junior, and maybe I think we had one freshman, and they all wanted to be a part of Technovation for different reasons. We got the majority of us wanted to be a part of the computer science side, but we also had a group of people that specifically wanted to be a part of the business side. So those business people kind of decided what parts of the business that they were interested in, and then they partnered up with a computer science person. So when we were creating our app, we had our user experience and UI and UX in mind, while also being able to code it fluently without having to rethink things, because that's a big thing when you're working a part of a group. One person wants to do one thing and the other person does another thing. we figured out the best way to do this is to just like come together, figure out the main goals that we want our app to accomplish and how to best do that. And we, like I said before, we did a bunch of surveys to see like which one's more appealing. We did research on like color theory. It was crazy. Yeah.
Did everybody try coding at least, or did you kind of divide up right from the beginning?
Yeah, the business kids that like wanted to be a part of it definitely wanted to experience what coding was like. I think they mostly wanted to do front end, which is pretty interesting because like the whole business standpoint in mind. But yeah, the way we did the coding section was I would choose bits and pieces of the Technovation and Men like list of what's it called, assignments that you could choose from. And I'd basically teach in front of them for like the beginning part of our meetings, and then they would go off on their own and explore with the new things that I've explained to them. And it was crazy to see like the bits of things that they liked and like got used to quickly, and like the pieces that were a little harder to swallow.
Yeah. How about you, Kirti? How did your team decide who was going to play what role?
So our team worked more collectively together. And what we did in the beginning was we took a look at what kind of an app we wanted to build, and we each drew out what we thought our app would look like on paper. And then from there, we could kind of discern who had the right idea of what we're going to build, and if there were any like disconnects between people, seeing if they thought our app was going to look different. And then we went and we actually started to code the app. And then we just split each feature because our app, the bus tracking app as well as Sapling, had just multiple features, and we assigned them to each person depending on whichever aspect they were interested in. And then once all the features were coded, we'd come back together and kind of look through everyone's features and see what was there, what was missing. And then at the end, we would all work on the UI UX layer. So having everyone be a part of everything really helped when we had to present our app, because if some people, because every part of the app connects together, and having everyone know about each part really well and how the back end works as well as how the design worked out is really useful when it comes to presenting everything.
And I think Kate, Abigail, and Heidi, we'd probably say the same thing from a work standpoint, right? I mean, aren't your teams more successful when everybody sort of has at least some knowledge and understanding of all the pieces? You can sort of brainstorm and think differently about things. I still remember reading a scholarship form for one of the girls that submitted to our scholarship, and I love what she said, which was something like, you know, I tried the coding and it wasn't my favorite, but I really loved doing the video pitch. And I keep thinking, I'm like, you know, I'd of course love everybody to become computer science majors and do that for their career. But I love the fact that she tried it. She was given the opportunity. She tried it, and you know, and she still kind of chose a technology thing, right? Creating a video pitch and all the pieces that go in there. You're telling a story, and all the tools and things you're using is still technology. And we certainly see, you know, nearly every job that's created today has some aspect of technology to it. So I love that aspect of the program. So Kirsty and Ruth, the sort of the underlying theme of everything we do in Technovation, you know, whether you're building an Alexa skill or a mobile app, is centered on the community. So how has participation in Technovation, has it changed sort of how you look at the community, or, you know, made you more aware of things? Any connections there that you can tell us about?
Definitely. Like being in Technovation and being forced to look around me and open my kind of constricted thinking to just education and book smarts to looking at the outside world and shifting into that problem solving mode really kind of shaped who I am and what I do around in my community, not like just in high school, but also outside. So in high school, currently, I'm involved in UNICEF Club, which advocates for children's education. And then Junior State of America, which is more nonpartisan political based. And specifically through JSA, we take that same concept of trying to be more aware of what's going on in our community. So we host forums with our entire school and talk about what issues might be prominent within our school community, and then prepare an activism project to execute. So going through that thinking early on, especially in middle school, has definitely come with me and hopefully will come with me through my journey as an entrepreneur, as well as just being present in my environment.
Excellent.
Yes, I definitely have become more active in my community after Technovation Men. So since I was a senior, I left high school and got into the University of Minnesota Twin Cities, and it was so interesting to be thrown into a bigger scale and see new people, meet different kinds of people, and kind of just explore what they're exploring in a way. Once I got into the university, I actually became a mentor to one of the girls that I was in a group with. And I helped her through the college application process, and she actually got into her dream school, which is so exciting to hear about. Because when I originally started Technovation Men, I did not expect to be one of the mentors that was helping our group. At the end, it became full circle, and I got to experience kind of what the mentors get to experience when they get to see their pupil shine and use everything they've learned so far in a way.
That's awesome. That's a great story too.
Mm-hmm.
How important is it for giving back? And you think about the 10-year-old girls that are out there that can look to Ruth and Kirsty as mentors, as role models, as, hey, if you can do that, I can do that. Can kind of see themselves in you. Is a fantastic way to sort of bring more women and girls into technology. Fantastic story. So Heidi, one of the ways that Technovation works is we have amazing corporate sponsors that allow us to focus on our curriculum and recruiting mentors and judges and holding events, all for free. So we charge absolutely nothing for any of the work that we do in our program. We have such a wonderful volunteer group and corporate sponsors. So Cargill sponsored a special corporate event this year called the Nourish the World Corporate
Mm-hmm.
Challenge. Can you tell us a little bit about what that event was?
Yeah, absolutely. So an organization within Cargill called Cargill Women in Technology, it's CWIT, because everything has an acronym. We created collaboration goals for this year, and one of them, the Nourishing the World Challenge, fell within one of these goals. Also, mentorship with Technovation was another one. But this challenge, the girls who were interested in joining the challenge needed to create a mobile app that incorporated one or more of these elements. There's 4. There's safety, farm-to-table innovation, sustainability, and climate change impact to agriculture. The perks, because there's always perks, of joining this challenge with Cargill were access to our mobile apps team, to interact with Cargill's innovation teams for creating your pitch and business plans, so additional mentoring, coaching on your app enhancements beyond the initial design and marketing, exposure to present your pitch to our senior Cargill leadership team, and participation in our 8th annual Day for Development. And of course, there were prizes, so it's always fun. There were 5 teams of gals that presented their mobile apps. The Cargill Nourishing the World Challenge winner this year was Upcyclers. And then we also had 4 other category winners. So the Elkas, they won the category for alignment to the theme of challenge. The Her Story Makers, they won the category for insightful and critical thinking. Apptopia, they were for market viability. That's really neat. And then the Technocrats for presentation and pitch. So all 5 of the teams won something, and it was incredible.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Heidi, that's kind of how you came to be a mentor as well. So Cargill has even they've allowed us to be part of their internal volunteer tools so that employees can sign up and help us that way. You've mentioned many mentors and judges and such coming too. So Cargill has been a big supporter. And the Nourish the World contest that or challenge, that kind of stemmed a little bit from US Bank, who's been doing it now for 5 years. And if you build an application that meets one of their pillars, community pillars, then you can apply. And pre-COVID, what that looked like was the girls would be invited to the office of the participating company. They would go into the boardroom. The executives from the company would gather around the boardroom table, and the girls would pitch to these executives. And so when I think about being nervous in public speaking, I'm like, oh my God, I would have been like, I don't know what. I would have been a nervous wreck. And man, they do a fabulous job. So this last year it was all virtual, but the executives of the companies are incredibly supportive and provide wonderful feedback, and it's just a great experience.
Absolutely.
So Kirsty and Ruth, any advice for girls thinking about joining the program?
I would say definitely join, because it makes a really big difference in kind of opening up your mind to a different visionary plane. Because in middle school, starting in the junior division and being around most of that, just kind of book smarts and just learning in school and not being exposed to club culture and all other extracurricular activities, it was nice having Technovation be that kind of outlet for me. And I would say definitely start if you're thinking about it, because it also gives you valuable entrepreneurial skills, and technology, as you know it, is almost everywhere in the workforce. And when you get into high school and college and advance, you will only be seeing more of it. So getting started earlier is better. Great.
Ruth, any advice you have for girls looking to consider Technovation?
Yeah, I would definitely say join. I think when I first started, it all seemed like a lot at once. But what I would recommend is to not limit yourself. It's very easy to throw away ideas thinking that there's no way to accomplish this, because, but if you're really passionate about something, that project will end up being way more valuable to you than something you just turned in on time. Like, even if you didn't finish the project, you can definitely learn valuable skills that you might not have learned if you just settled with a easier topic. Like with my topic and my group's choice, I got to experience and learn more about Firebase, Airtable, and a bunch of other database structures that I definitely wouldn't have learned through high school or even through college. Like, you don't get to be taught these things. You have to learn it on your own and experience it. So yeah, I guess like the underlying thing is just try your best and pick up as much as you can, because the only person you're challenging here is yourself.
Fabulous advice. And both of you are just doing so wonderfully in school and in bringing other girls along and kind of starting your own businesses. And it's wonderful to see your progress. And we're so happy to have helped in that journey a little bit. So as we wrap up, we'll just do a couple rapid fire questions to our panelists. And I'll ask you, and we'll just go around quick answers, and then we'll wrap up. So first question, there'll be two questions. The last podcast you listened to, Kate.
I was at a live taping of the Dollop podcast on Saturday in Denver, actually, which is a comedy history podcast.
Awesome. Have you been on a podcast?
I have not been on a podcast. That was, I paid tickets to watch two comedians be on stage telling a history story.
Awesome. Abigail, last podcast.
Last podcast I listened to was The Office Ladies, about the TV show The Office.
Yep. Heidi, last podcast.
When I didn't get to church last week, so it's my preacher.
All right. Kirsty, any podcast?
Yeah, the last podcast I listened to was Behind Our Empire, and the host is Yasmin Nouri. I actually interned for her, so I had to listen to a few of the episodes, and the entire podcast is based on women founders and how they built their empire.
Oh, that's
Awesome. Ruth, last podcast?
The Mindset Mentor. I really love this content because it's very motivational and it gets me through the week when nothing else will really.
I love seeing all the versatility. My last podcast, I think, was Aria. I don't know, was it Aria Encoded or Aria Coded, something like that, where they talk about operas and the arias that are in them and the music. Okay, last question. Last app you used on your phone. Ruth, last app you used.
That would have to be Spotify. For one, to listen to the podcast, and two, listen to music.
Kirsty.
I think it was Gmail to actually open your email, Lisa,
All
before
right.
joining.
Getting ready for the panel. All right. Heidi.
It was Snapchat, but I have to change mine to Gmail when I was scrambling through my office through 3 different machines trying to get into this. So yeah, mine's Gmail also.
Abigail.
Instagram.
Instagram. All right. Kate.
I took my dog for a walk before, so I listened to Libby for free audiobooks from the library. So Libby.
Awesome. Oh, yes, that's awesome.
And I'm pretty sure mine was Outlook. I'm just trying to get organized. So, I just wanted to thank those that are online today and joined us, those that may be watching us as a taped version of this for in the future. And of course, our wonderful panelists, especially Ruth and Kirsty, for sharing your experiences and being part of the Technovation program. We're so very proud of you. So everybody have a great day.